Was that mostly classical at Juilliard? Was there a jazz program then?
There was no jazz program, but attached to it was Chuck Israel's a great bass player, and they had a tradition that went back to the 50s of playing jazz with John Lewis, and they made some records, music at the end with Sonny Rollins is on that record. And I had a chance to kind of tap into that strain of musicians, and we would play some sessions every now and then. And then when I came to New York, Chuck would, I did a few gigs with him. So, but mainly it was only classical music.
Do you remember the first piece of classical music that had some kind of personal effect on you?
Oh man, yeah. I remember the first time I would hear kind of classical music. We had these kind of records my daddy and mama would put on, and we didn't like that. Disney records where they talk about Bach had 26 children. Now we would remember that. Okay, this guy is writing this music, had 26 children. Now, Mozart wrote this when he was 9. So you'll remember. And they had these little busts of the classical musicians, but that was so far outside of our culture, we didn't really. But when I was 13, a friend of mine named Larry Dillon called me and said, "Hey man, I'm in a rehearsal with the Jewish Community Center, and I'm the only black person here. Can you come down here and help me?" I said, "Yeah." And I went down, and when I walked in the room, the weatherman was playing timpani. And I thought, man, what's the weatherman doing playing timpani? And it was the New Orleans Civic Orchestra. So I went in the back. He was the only trumpet, and I sat down to trumpet play, and they were playing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It was the worst thing you ever heard, but it was our civic orchestra, and we were playing. And for some reason, I never really put it together about classical music, like the years and the history and the tradition. So I looked at the music, and I noticed the man was born in 1770. I thought, man, somebody wrote this in like 18 something. And we were playing boom, 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 boom. Got to the bass part, boom, 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 boom. They were just massacring it. But I would look over at them, and the way they were playing, like just to kind of, and they're just just people, not professional musicians, just everyday people getting together in the Jewish Community Center. And I remember the Jewish Community Center had a great gym. So I said, man, when we finish this rehearsal, we're gonna go in the gym and beat some people playing some ball. But that rehearsal hit me. And I became a fan of Beethoven. I got all the Beethoven symphonies. I got books on Beethoven, Thayer's Life of Beethoven. I started to research Beethoven, and eventually in high school, I took a theory class. I learned how to analyze his symphonies. I analyzed every symphony. And to this day, I've read like many books on him. His string quartets, I wrote my senior term paper in high school on Beethoven string quartets and T.S. Elliott poem called Four Quartets. His story, everything about him, I became a fan of that. Like a rabid fan, like you follow a ball team or something. And I would try to turn my partners on in the neighborhood. Man, you ever check Beethoven out? And y'all are laughing, but I get them in there checking it out. They'd be sitting up there, I'd be saying, this is the main theme, And it would be so far outside of what they would deal with, but they would go with me. Man, okay, you got a good jump shot, we're gonna go with you. And to this day, I've never lost that kind of love and respect for him and veneration for his struggle in music and what he contributed to Western music and to the Western mind. He's something. He's for real.